Is it bright in here or is that just me? Turn on, tune in, drop out. Feeling some good vibes this morning. Imbibe them with me. Get that feeling. The psychedelic 60s were powered by sex, drugs, rock and roll. Nowhere did you see power. What did we want and what did we stand for? We learned about Vietnam, women's rights, civil rights. It was everywhere, everywhere. What did we want? Love, revolution, creativity, living in the moment, optimism. That's what we experienced. Nowhere was creativity more evident than music. Change. Motown, Bob Dylan, the Supremes, all these influenced our daily life in a way that few other movements have done. And all this climax in 1969's Woodstock. Oh, let's pause and reflect. Oh, so good. Radical, yeah. By the 70s, it became interwoven with society. The way people dressed, the way people talked, everything. It became just a part of normal everyday life. The Monkees, the Beatles, the Turtles, the Doors, all those groups helped bring us to where we are today. According to Rolling Stone, rock music went from a positive influence in the 60s to 48% saying it's a bad influence on today, young people today. And interestingly, both the young folks and the older folks feel the same way. The message from that, it's all right for us to try this, but you better not. Dihydroxyphenylethylamine. Dopamine. Dopamine is how you experience pleasure. It's a neurotransmitter that when you're experiencing pleasurable things, you want to repeat it over and over and over again. It's a chemical in your brain, and that's just the pathway. So no test on this. Rock music was also associated with drugs. Drugs increased the creativity of people. Experimentation. People experimented with drugs. It brought them to new levels. And then a cat named Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, there were a series of drug-related deaths. So we became a greater respect for the dangers of drugs. The result was the 27 Club. How do drugs act? It's the difference between shouting in a microphone versus whispering in your ear. That's why people like them so much. It gives you that high. So what happens? What happens as you take drugs? You go up and up and up with your levels. But unfortunately, it keeps dropping you the more you repeatedly do it. It drops and drops and drops until eventually you need to take drugs just to get back to normal feeling. It's a bum trip. It's a bum trip, man. Stay away from it. 94% of parents disapprove if their children experimented with drugs. Interestingly, the generation that said yes to drugs is telling people, just say no. How many people have been to the Passion Pit? Okay, fess up. We know who you are. Optimism was riding high. And just like drugs, sex gave you highs. You enjoyed the pleasure. You enjoyed that experience. But eventually, like drugs, it became hollow. You know, it became empty. We needed that relationship part. We wanted the whole total experience where we could be one with a person and live our life as that one person from it. What do we take away from this history lesson this morning? Dopamine. Where are you getting your pleasure from? TV? I dare say work? That's a dirty word, man. Are you addicted to email or texting or Facebook or those kind of things? Do you find it impossible to resist that little beep on your phone that says you got an email? Creativity. Ideas are power. Where are you getting creativity in your life? Reading books, maybe? Living in the moment. In the 60s, we lived in the moment. Today, we seem to be overbooked. How do you prioritize what's important today? How do you prioritize that? Optimism. How do you keep positive when bad things happen? There's a lot to take in, and hopefully it applies to you in your life. Cool. Got a split. Mr. Toastmaster.